at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We got to unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the Dean Obeidallah Show, brothers and sisters, Thursday, September 26th. I'm Dean Obeidallah, as always, hoping to be your MBFF. And we're going to pick up with Trump's crimes already in progress, where we were yesterday. Like every day, it's less of an administration, more like an extended Law and Order episode at this point. Say whatever you want. The Trump administration is going to make a great Netflix criminal crime miniseries. It's going to be a great crime miniseries when this is over because it's nonstop. And most people can sit for the bar exam, I think, now just from living through the Trump administration with all the legal issues. And today we got even more from the whistleblower complaint released this morning, which will go through the testimony of the acting director of national intelligence, Joseph McGuire. Today we'll play some of those clips. I want to hear from you. But let's go through some of the stuff in the whistleblower complaint that the media, they picked a few things in the whistleblower complaint that they're really focused on, which back up the conversation and the memorandum released yesterday. But there's more than that. And I think there's other things there that are important to talk about. And I'll try to highlight some of those as well. But let's just begin as a recap from yesterday. What did we learn yesterday from the memorandum released by the Trump administration? And there's no dispute that everything in that memorandum, even though it's damning of Trump, Trump's not saying it's not true. So all of that's true. And that's horrible. So we don't know what was left out. And there's no doubt some things were left out because it's not a word for word transcription and nor is it an audio recording of the phone call. What we learned yesterday, and there's a couple of big dates in all of this. July 25th is the big date. That's the day of the phone call between Donald Trump and Ukrainian leader Zelensky. And in that phone call, of course, Donald Trump first talks about how great the U.S. has been. He talks about we give you everything, slamming Germany and Merkel, they give you nothing. Then uses the word reciprocity, which is way out of Trump's brain level, but still use the word reciprocity. And then goes on after the president of Ukraine says, yes, thank you, 100%, thank you, 1,000%, literally says 1,000%, and how we need the weapons and we need more of these Javelin anti-tank missiles to defend against an encroachment potentially from Russia. What does Trump say? I would like to ask you to do a favor. And here's the favor. It goes through one thing. The second one is the real favor. There's a lot of talk about Biden's son. That Biden stopped the prosecution. And a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the attorney general would be great. Biden went on about bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you could look into it, it sounds horrible to me. Zelensky says, I'll do whatever you want. So we had that yesterday. That's a sort of like the beginning of a new episode of, let's say, Breaking Bad. You're like, what happened last week? Bingo. That's all that happened yesterday. Today was released the whistleblower complaint of August 12th. We do not know the identity of the person who drafted this whistleblower complaint. What we do know now, a short time ago, according to New York Times reporting, so it's not 100% confirmed, but on sources, the whistleblower is a current CIA officer who was detailed to work at the White House at one point. This means this person probably is very experienced in all likelihood and was assigned to work in the CIA. Now, I'm going to read some parts of the whistleblower complaint, and at some point we will probably, not definitely, learn the identity of this person. But according to the unclassified version, it was unclassified this morning, that it backs up so much of the phone call. And it says, deeply disturbed by Trump's request to Zelensky. It's 7 pages, but let's highlight some of it. And I'm telling you, at the end of this, not only is Donald Trump in trouble, Rudy Giuliani's in trouble, and Bill Barr is at least on its face implicated in this. And when I play some clips from Joseph McGuire's testimony with Adam Schiff and House Intel, it is stunning and alarming what Bill Barr did. He literally even though all this evidence is so clear, so there's no need for a criminal investigation into Donald Trump because Bill Barr is the cover-up AG and he proves it over and over and over again. So let's read some parts of the 7-page. I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously. Let me highlight a few things. It said here, quote, "In the course of my official duties, I've received information from multiple U.S. government officials that the President of the United States is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. election." He continues on. "The interference includes, among other things, pressuring a foreign country to investigate one of President's main domestic political rivals. The President's personal lawyer, Mr. Rudolph Giuliani, is a central figure in this effort. Attorney General Bill Barr appears to be involved as well." Those are the exact words of the whistleblower complaint. This complaint is based on someone who said in his complaint he is honest. Some of the things he saw directly, others he heard from other people. The Trump and the GOP is like, it's hearsay, it's hearsay, it's hearsay. It can't be true, it's hearsay. Here's the problem with that, twofold problem. When you hear anybody on the right tell you this is based on hearsay, so you can't believe it. Two problems. First of all, everything he wrote in the complaint about the phone call between Donald Trump and the Ukrainian leader, everything is backed up by the memo Trump released yesterday. So it might be hearsay, but Trump himself is the guy who's the source and he backs it all up. So that means nothing, that hearsay thing here. Second of all, this entire complaint was reviewed by the intelligence, the one that's charged for the intelligence community, the Inspector General, Michael Atkinson, who was appointed by Donald Trump. He is a career DOJ guy, appointed by Donald Trump as IG. He reviewed it. He found it credible and deemed it to be an urgent concern, which is a technical word under the law, which means something, a serious problem, abuse or violation of the law relating to the funding, administration, or operation of intelligence activity within the responsibility and authority of the Director of the National Intelligence. So you've got this, that argument, they're all saying it's a talking point. Well, he didn't see everything. It's hearsay. That only means something when the only source for that information is that person. In this case, Donald Trump is the primary source for this information. Donald Trump's own conversation says, let me ask you a favor. And here's the favor. Can you please investigate Joe Biden and his son? That's a crime. It's pretty simple stuff. That's like law 101. That's a crime. And second, the IG appointed by Trump said it was credible. So the whistleblower complaint continues on here. And some of this stuff is truly stunning. It is jaw-dropping. He said, over the past 4 months, so this is not one phone call, folks, in July 25th. Over the past 4 months, so this was August 12th he wrote this. So you're going back to May. Over these 4 months, quote, more than half a dozen U.S. officials have informed me of various facts related to this effort. The effort is to get dirt on Joe Biden through the Ukrainian government. It says the information provided herein was relayed to me in the course of official interagency business. It is routine for U.S. officials with responsibility for a particular regional or functional portfolio to share such information with one another to inform each other of policy making and analysis. And here is a stunning line, which is so important. I am also concerned that these actions pose risks to U.S. national security and undermine the U.S. government's effort to deter and counter foreign interference in our elections. Then he turns to the July 25th conversation, which all of this, again, is backed up by Donald Trump. It doesn't matter, this hearsay argument. They're saying it because they're trying to just mislead people. Like, well, we can't trust it. Trump is the source. Hearsay is only, I heard someone else say it. Trump is telling you, I said it. It all matches up completely. So it goes on. The president first talked about the phone call. It began with pleasantries and then goes on just like that. We'll call it loosely a transcript. It's not. He said the president used the remainder of the call to advance his personal interests. That's called abuse of power, folks. Namely, he sought to pressure the Ukrainian leader to take actions to help the president's 2020 re-election bid. According to White House officials who had direct knowledge of the call, the president pressured Zelensky to, among other things, initiate an investigation into Joe Biden. We know all of that. And directing Rudy Giuliani and Bill Barr to get involved. Again, these statements in this whistleblower complaint are completely backed up. So this is all true. It's just a second source of... We got primary. There's different levels of evidence. There's secondary sources of evidence and primary sources. Primary is the person who made the statement, backs it up. Secondary is someone else saying, I heard someone say it. We have primary evidence. Donald Trump, in that memo, said, I said this stuff. There's zero dispute. Donald Trump first said, we're helping you. We want reciprocity. Second, I've got a favor. The favor is get dirt on my political opponent. That has nothing to do with the interest of the United States of America. That is only the interest of Donald J. Trump and his reelection. Then there's more here. This is something that's not getting any reporting. I find it very interesting, though. In the Whistleblowers complaint, it says the president also praised Ukraine's prosecutor general, Mr. Yuri Lutsenko, and suggested that Mr. Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, keep him on in his position. And then he adds parenthetically why. Starting in March 2019, Mr. Lutsenko made a series of public allegations, many of which he walked back, about the Bidens involved in Ukrainian activities in the 2016. So the point was, Trump was saying, hey, why don't you keep this prosecutor on? Because this prosecutor for the last few months has been saying good things I like he's going to investigate Biden. And this is new. We didn't know this. No one knew this. In the whistleblower complaint, it says, the Ukrainian side was the first to publicly acknowledge the phone call. On the evening of July 25th, a readout was posted on the website of the Ukrainian president that contained the following line translated from Russian. Here it is. Donald Trump expressed his conviction that the new Ukrainian government will be able to quickly improve Ukraine's image and complete the investigation of corruption cases that have been held back cooperation between the Ukraine and the U.S. So what they're saying, the Ukrainian side, they posted that night, the Ukrainian president's government posted that night that they had a phone call with Trump and that they can improve relations with Trump and cooperation between the Ukraine and the United States that have been held back if they complete the investigation of corruption cases. The only corruption cases talked about, as the whistleblower points out, are the ones involving Joe Biden and his son. This is unreal. A little bit more of this here. It says, based on my understanding, there were approximately a dozen White House officials who listened to this call. That means a dozen people in the White House knew Donald Trump literally said, I got a favor to ask you. There's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution. We want to find it out. So whatever you can do with the attorney general would be great. Biden went about bragging he stopped the prosecution. So look into it. A dozen people in the White House heard that. And only one came forward. Only one. This whistleblower. We have to find out the name of every single person who heard Donald Trump commit a crime, an abuse of power, two different things, because abuse of power is not a crime, but it's impeachable, on this phone call, and no one else came forward but this one CIA officer. Thank God there was one patriot in the White House, because the rest are more loyal to Donald Trump and more loyal to power than they are to the United States of America and our Constitution. And that's not hyperbolic. That's exactly what it is. Here's a stunning line in the whistleblower complaint, which deserves more press. The White House officials who told me this information were deeply disturbed what had transpired in the phone call. They told me there was already a discussion ongoing with the White House lawyers about how to treat the call because of all the likelihood in the officials' retelling that they had witnessed the president abuse his office for personal gain. So some of these 12 were concerned. And for some reason, they picked this CIA guy. And maybe he asked questions. Maybe he's a young Jack Ryan from the Tom Clancy novels. I don't know. But they picked this guy to share this with. And he came forward. And he shared with us this whistleblower complaint in amazing detail. There's a couple more things from this complaint I want to highlight before we talk about Joseph McGuire's testimony today. There's some great clips from that. It was covered on not just cable news, but on network TV. That's remarkable. It reminded me of the impeachment hearings of the Clintons, and certainly looking back, and while I was not cognizant of it, the Richard Nixon impeachment hearings were somewhere on national TV. There's more to this, folks, this whistleblower complaint. It documents and mirrors exactly the conversation Donald Trump had with the Ukraine by Donald Trump's own admission, by his own memorandum. But then comes the cover-up. And there's always a cover-up. Because people know someone tells Trump, you just asked a foreign leader to interfere in our election. That's a crime, you idiot. And don't forget, just a month before this, in June, Trump is on with George Stephanopoulos. You might remember this, talking about, well, if someone offers me information, I'm not going to call the FBI. I got to hear it. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's not. Remember all that stuff? He knew very well you do not take information from a foreign leader or foreign national. But there was Trump. So someone said what you did was really bad. So the cover-up began in the White House. This is all new. None of this anybody knew. There's nothing confirming this yet. So this is the secondary information. This can be confirmed during an investigation. This is not, some of it could be hearsay. This is the only place that hearsay argument applies. Quote, in the days following the phone call, I learned from multiple U.S. officials that senior White House officials had intervened to, quote, lock down, close quote, all records of the phone call, especially the official word-for-word transcript of the call that was produced, as is customary by the White House Situation Room. Adding, this set of actions underscored to me the White House officials understood the gravity of what had transpired in that call. So some people got it. They knew it was a crime. They had heard a crime. They heard abuse of power. And then they went into all the president's men Watergate world. How do you protect the president? What do? We rally around the king. How do we save him? They did what they could. What they did, according to this whistleblower, and this is going to be easy to confirm. Won't take much. Few people subpoenaed, they'll testify. Quote, White House officials told me they were directed by White House lawyers to remove the electronic transcript from the computer system in which such transcripts are typically stored for coordination, finalization, and distribution to cabinet-level officials. Instead, the transcript was loaded into separate electronic systems that is otherwise used to store and handle classified information. One White House official described this act as an abuse of this electronic system because the call did not contain anything remotely sensitive from a national security perspective. See, the point is, it does not make it a national security classified information when the president is committing a crime. In fact, there's an exception for that. What they were doing is putting this in the high top secret area and hiding it because they didn't want anyone to find out Donald Trump's crimes. So other people are implicated in this crime. You have co-conspirators just like Watergate. It's expected. This is what happens. He also has a lot on Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani is over his head in this stuff. He writes, starting in mid-May, I heard from multiple U.S. officials they were deeply concerned about what they viewed as Mr. Giuliani's circumvention of national security decision-making processes to engage with Ukrainian officials and relay messages back and forth between Kiev and the president. So there is Giuliani. Now he's saying the State Department told him. We haven't had confirmation of it that I've seen. So Giuliani seems to be going to backdate this and go, oh no, I was sent to go as an emissary of the president. Probably not. It might be. And what the big point in the whistleblower complaint is here. It says President Zelensky, aid going to him would depend on whether Zelensky showed, quote, willingness to play ball on the issues that had been publicly aired by Mr. Lutsenko and Mr. Giuliani. He doesn't continue, but namely, that is, you investigate Biden and you get your aid. And there's a memorandum attached to the actual whistleblower complaint. He makes a notation here, again, which is new information. It's very helpful for all of us. On July 18th, the Office of Management and Budget informed departments and agencies that the president earlier this month had issued instructions to suspend all their security assistance to the Ukraine. Neither the OMB or National Security Council staff knew why this instruction had been issued. So Donald Trump alone suspended the aid. He did not confer with National Security Council. He did not confer with the Office of Management and Budget. He unilaterally made a decision to withhold aid apparently weeks before the phone call on July 25th with the Ukrainian leader. And it would seem reasonable, it's got to be proved, reasonable though, he did that to use this as a carrot and a stick. Carrot, if you help us, you get your aid, you investigate Biden. You don't, good luck with Russia. They might be coming over your border. July 25th, to remind everyone again, Trump freaks out. This phone call was 9 a.m. Eastern Time on July 25th. At about 7:45 a.m. that morning, Donald Trump tweets about a Fox News poll. That poll had Donald Trump down to Joe Biden by 10 points. The question is, I want to know an answer. When was this phone call arranged? Was it arranged way before that poll? Because if not, it says a lot. And it could have been. I don't know the answer to that. These are questions that need to be asked. That's why we're going to have an impeachment proceeding. Now, I want to take a break. We have a lot of time. We don't have a guest till 7:30 tonight, so it's all you. When we come back, I want to play a few clips from the hearing today. Some stunning stuff. Some things that make you realize that Bill Barr must be investigated, and I think Bill Barr should be impeached and removed. We'll come back, talk about that. We'll also talk about the odd, bizarre things that the Director of National Intelligence did involving a complaint, involving the president, and who did he go to first to get advice? Let's take a break, come back. Then we're going to take some calls. I'll play some clips and we'll come back. 866-997-4748. Be right back.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
Whoever's the next president, we should call him the 45th president of the United States. And this will go down as a dark time in America that we'll never refer to again.
SiriusXM Progress.
His show, your voice. 866-99-SIRIUS. 866-997-4748. Let's make a difference together. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show.
On SiriusXM Progress 127.
And welcome back. Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live Thursday, September 26th. I have to be honest with you. I'll say this as someone who used to practice law, who did some criminal work, mostly civil, but I did some, and municipal prosecutor work. The circle of potential criminality in this is stunning, in that you've got Donald Trump, the president, you have his attorney general implicated, you have his personal lawyer implicated, you have potentially Mike Pence, potentially, I mentioned something yesterday, maybe tomorrow we'll talk about that more, if I can get more reporting on it. But that's not a shock when you think about already who's involved in the circle of criminality of Donald Trump. Michael Cohen, Trump's other personal lawyer, is in prison right now. Donald Trump's campaign manager, Paul Manafort, is in prison right now. Donald Trump's deputy campaign manager, Rick Gates, is in prison right now. Michael Flynn, his former national security advisor and aide and guy on the campaign, pled guilty to a felony, isn't going to be sentenced in the near future. Another campaign aide, George Papadopoulos, convicted of a felony, served prison. He's out now. His close buddy, Roger Stone, is going to go on trial any day and likely, not definitely, but likely be convicted of a felony. This is who Trump likes. He wants people that are morally pliable, who have no ethics, whose only ethics is how can I serve Donald Trump? And this is how you have this level of corruption. And it took this patriotic CIA officer with a few others quietly saying what's going on. And I can only imagine in the White House, the circle that Trump trusts is teeny. I mean, where's Jared? Where's Ivanka? What happened to all of them? They're just gone, it seems like. Has he cut them out? I have no idea. But let's go to the hearing today. I want to play some clips, then we're going to take your calls. We have till 7:30 to take calls tonight. That's why I'm going along with this, because I wanted to read a lot of the whistleblower complaint that's getting overlooked by the media because it's a lot of words, a lot of stuff to cover. I think there's a lot of important things in there which give you a fuller picture of what's going on. And that it was crimes. People in the Trump administration knew it. They moved to cover-up phase. You've got the cover-up. So you've got that happening. And you have Rudy Giuliani out there committing crimes. And Bill Barr at least helping them. Today, Joseph Maguire, he's the acting director of national intelligence. He replaced Dan Coates. You might remember Dan Coates was a good guy. People like Dan Coates. Joseph Maguire served almost 40 years for our nation in various capacities, a former Navy SEAL. Truly a man whose service to this country cannot be challenged. And I think, to be honest, in watching him, I think he got caught between a hard place and a rock in this case. And what happened was you had the August 12th whistleblower complaint filed. That's all by statute. It triggers certain requirements. So from there, 14 days, that's all the Inspector General, Michael Atkinson, had. It's a Trump appointee to investigate. Is it credible? Is it not? And is it deemed an urgent concern or not? Which is a higher level of importance, as you might imagine. It's called an urgent concern. He deems it as such in 14 days. That's a Trump appointee doing that. He then turns it over to Joseph Maguire. That's the statute says that. Joseph Maguire, per the statute, has 7 days to review the complaint. And the complaint says, and the statute says very clearly, he shall, which in the world of the law means you must. It's not like maybe, it's shall. That's not me debating it. In legal, the way laws are interpreted by our courts and the way they're drafted by legislators, shall means you must. 7 days, Joseph Maguire had to turn this complaint over to the Senate and House Intel committees. Didn't mean we get to see it. It could be under the cover of classified information, but he had to turn it over. He did not. Joseph Maguire chose not to. Joseph Maguire chose to violate the law. There's no disputing he violated the law. Today, he defended why he violated the law, but there's no doubt he violated it. Now, it's not a criminal law. There's no inherent penalty that I'm aware of in a way in this case because it wasn't willful. It wasn't with a corrupt intent. It was willful and knowing, but it wasn't a corrupt intent. And I think that's kind of fair. I don't think this is a man who should suffer because when you hear him, you can't help but struck. This is truly a public servant who gave so much of his life to our country, nearly 4 decades to our nation. And he's not going to give it all up for this jackass Donald Trump. I just cannot believe that's the legacy he wants. Here, though, let's play some clips. Adam Schiff, opening statement, House Intel Chair, really great stuff. Again, this was not just covered on MS and CNN and then Fox News. I went to Fox News. They covered it. It was on NBC. It was on ABC. It was on CBS. This was a national moment. And this is how it began. Clip number 1, Adam Schiff.
If we do not defend the nation, there is no Constitution. But if we do not defend the Constitution, there is no nation worth defending. Yesterday, we were presented with the most graphic evidence yet that the President of the United States has betrayed his oath of office, betrayed his oath to defend our national security, and betrayed his oath to defend our Constitution. For yesterday, we were presented with a record of a call between the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine in which the President, our President, sacrificed our national security and our Constitution for his personal political benefit.
Donald Trump betrayed the oath of office. That's on national television today. No one countered that. Not one Republican countered that notion. What they showed, the Republicans, their continued defense over and over, was an outrage that a whistleblower shared information with the right channels. He didn't go public. He went the right channels. They were more upset with that than the crimes Donald Trump committed. And they would call it a charade, and this is a joke. That was their entire defense, not on the merits. Then you have, and I want to play some clips of Joseph McGuire doing a good job here, saying things that I think are great. And I think it's important. Joseph McGuire is not the bad guy. Donald Trump is. Joseph McGuire was recently appointed DNI. He was not Director of National Intelligence when this whistleblower complaint got filed. In fact, as he testified under oath, he didn't even know. Dan Coates, leaving the door, didn't say, by the way, we got this really troubling complaint. Maybe that's why Dan Coates resigned. I mean, maybe Dan Coates resigned. I don't know the exact day he announced his resignation, so that's not fair. Here is Joe McGuire on saying the whistleblower he believes acted in good faith with nothing but good intentions. Clip number 2.
First, I want to stress that I believe that the whistleblower and the Inspector General have acted in good faith throughout. I have every reason to believe that they have done everything by the book and followed the law, respecting the privileged nature of the information and patiently waiting while the executive privilege issues were resolved.
So, good words by Joe McGuire. McGuire over and over and over defended Michael Atkinson, who is the Inspector General, who deemed this credible and an urgent concern. He's also a Trump appointee, a career guy, not some guy that he met on, The Apprentice or something like that. And then Joe McGuire said this, and I think it was great. He said he would protect the whistleblower. Clip number 3.
Asking about the whistleblower right now.
I think the whistleblower did the right thing. I think he followed the law every step of the way, and we just got stuck with...
Then why, Director, when the president called the whistleblower a political hack and suggested that he or she might be disloyal to the country, why did you remain silent?
I did not remain silent, Mr. Chairman. I issued a statement to my workforce committing my commitment to the whistleblower protection and ensuring that I would provide protection to anybody within the intelligence community who comes forward. But the way this thing was blowing out, I didn't think it was appropriate for me to be making a press statement so that we counter each other every step.
And that's a great thing that Joe McGuire said. So internally, people know he is supporting whistleblowers who do the right procedure so that the others will come forward. Trump does not want you to come forward. Whistleblowers are often great patriots who are risking their career. This guy, if it's true, according to the New York Times, that he worked for the CIA, that he's risking his career. He's not a former, he's a current CIA analyst at some level. All right, so now here comes the more troubling things. So 14 days after Michael Atkinson, the IG, looks at it, says it's credible, it's an urgent concern. He gives it to Joseph McGuire, the new DNI, who under federal law has 7 days and must give it to Congress. What does Joe McGuire do after reading this? And we all know what's in the complaint. Now, I read it. It says Donald Trump talked to the Ukrainian leader, said, help me get dirt on Joe Biden, and Giuliani's implicated and Bill Barr is implicated. So what did he do? Who did he go to first? Do you go to the target of investigation first? Most of us would say, of course not, but that's who he went to, and it's so troubling. So let's hear Adam Schiff and Joe McGuire on this very issue, clip number 4.
You first went to the Office of Legal Counsel, and then you went to the White House counsel?
No, sir. No, we went to the White House first to determine, to ask the question.
Okay, that's all I want to know is chronology. So you went to the White House first. So you went to the subject of the complaint for advice first about whether you should provide the complaint to Congress.
There were issues within this, a couple of things. One, it did appear that it has executive privilege. If it does have executive privilege, it is the White House that determines that. I cannot determine that as the Director of National Intelligence.
But in this case, the White House, the president is the subject of the complaint. He's the subject of the wrongdoing.
Absolutely. Now, I feel for McGuire. I mean, the guy served our nation for 4 decades, and he gets a new job, literally gets handed this thing from a guy, Michael Atkinson, he has the most respect for, the IG, and goes, this is credible, it's an urgent concern. And he goes, oh my God, I'm 2 weeks in, and they're saying the boss committed a crime, and what am I going to do about this? This is a national scandal. So he should have went, as Schiff is suggesting, the Office of Legal Counsel first. Instead, he goes to the subject of the complaint. In fact, here's Congresswoman Val Demings from Florida.
Cases involving other personnel. I've had an opportunity to investigate numerous other cases, criminal cases, and never once, just for the record, Director McGuire, did I ever go to the suspect or the defendant or the principal in those cases.
It's a whistleblower complaint about the executive branch, the head of the executive branch. Bill Barr should have recused himself, but he knows Jeff Sessions recused himself, and what happens? So Bill Barr is willing to ever seen a whistleblower complaint about the President of the United States of America. Clip number 6.
Finally, I appreciate that in the past, whistleblower complaints may have been provided to Congress regardless of whether they were deemed credible or satisfied the urgent including executive privilege. I believe that this matter is unprecedented. I also believe that I handle this matter in full compliance with the law at all times, and I am committed to doing so, sir.
Think about that. In the history of whistleblowers, nobody has made one about the President of the United States using the intelligence community statute. There's different laws for different whistleblowers. In this one, this is a first. So much of what we've seen with Trump is a first. There's so much. We are going to get to a point to litigate, can a president pardon themselves? That's where we're heading with the crime stuff. Because Trump says he said many times I can pardon myself. Most of us probably pardon everyone. He might just pardon everyone one day. That's going to happen. Here is something. So now we know the conversation. We know in the conversation is very, very clear. Donald Trump said to the president of Ukraine, I would like you to do us a favor. There's a lot of talk about Biden's son. That Biden stopped the prosecution. And a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the attorney general would be great. With the attorney general. Over and over, he said the attorney general, this is not the whistleblower complaint. This is Trump's readout of the phone conversation. There's no disputing it. The whistleblower complaint says the exact same thing. This whistleblower complaint is given to Bill Barr. I have no doubt Bill Barr also saw the transcript of the phone call. And this is the stunning part. Here is clip number.
But nonetheless, they didn't authorize the FBI to investigate it. You would agree someone should investigate this, wouldn't you?
I referred it, if I didn't, I would not have referred it to the Justice Department and to the FBI.
Well, then I'm glad that we're in agreement.
We have such a corrupt system right now. Donald Trump has peeled away the norms of our government. The idea that an attorney general would be above pure rank partisanship, that's gone. You literally, folks, you could be a Trump supporter. I'm going to say something based on the law. This is not partisan at all. The law is very clear. You cannot solicit anything from a foreign national. That's our federal election campaign laws. If you do that knowing and willfully, it is a crime. The very memo that Donald Trump gave us yesterday shows him saying, I want to ask you a favor. That this is not a quid pro quo stuff. That's a bribery. That's a whole separate law. Extortion. Those are separate laws. There's no quid pro quo. The law is very clear. If you ask and solicit from a foreign national, let alone a government, anything of value, which information's been deemed of value under Federal Election Commission laws, that's a crime. On its face, that was a crime. For Bill Barr, within a few days, to say there's no crime and we don't have to investigate, implicates Bill Barr. Bill Barr needs to be investigated. I think he should be impeached, and I think he should be removed from the Senate. I don't know of any attorney general ever removed but he should be the first. And I think Donald Trump should be the first president of the United States. This is where we are. This is where we are today. And the Republicans' entire defense, from Devin Nunes, the ranking minority leader, a man himself who went to the White House in 2017 and brought some evidence to Trump of surveillance, giving the subject the same thing, a tip-off of what's going on. You have Bill Barr still to this day involved in the Ukraine matter. He should not be. He's a witness. He's a potential defendant. The only remedy is impeachment. There's nothing else. Because no one else, the DOJ is not going to investigate this. Donald Trump could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. He doesn't need to, but he could. He would not be prosecuted. He would be tried for state law. That's unfair to say. Being legally correct here. A federal crime, he's not going to be prosecuted by Bill Barr's DOJ. That's where we are, folks. It would be so much more upsetting if Speaker Pelosi did not do the impeachment. And today's hearing looked like an impeachment. So let's take a break, come back. You're going to be my guest right till 7:30. We've got 45 minutes. Then Ro Khanna, the congressman, is going to join us for a little bit at 7:30. But let's take a break and come back and hear from you.
Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM Progress 127.
You're listening to the Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM's Progress.
And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. You're my guest right till 7:30. I did a long monologue. I think it was a record, but it was almost two different parts going on, and I wanted to cover it all. Now we're all on the same page. Let's do this. Here's Louise in Pennsylvania. How are you, Louise?
I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted a quick comment. What's Donald Trump going to say about when his kids come under fire when he's actually picked on Joe Biden's son?
You're right, and his kids are out there. Who knows how they're profiting from all of this? And
oh my God, yes. So he's going to be all up in arms, like, oh, you can't pick on my kids. When exactly what he did was pick on Joe Biden's son, who was taking $50,000 a month for sitting on a board, which is legal.
It is. And you know what? There were people, I went back and looked at articles from 2014 and 15, and there were some people, no one said it was a crime, and it wasn't, that had issues with the ethics of his son going on that board while Joe Biden was doing what he was doing. That's a different discussion. There's no illegality. He didn't force the prosecutor out to protect his son. In fact, all the reporting is very clear that the time the prosecutor was pushed out, the investigation into that company was done. It was not going on. Fox News literally lies on TV and says it is. There's no reporting to support that whatsoever. That's how desperate. The only thing I hope, Louise, let me ask you honestly, because I was just talking to Matt, my producer. If a Democratic president did this, after what we've been through with Trump, would we do the same knee-jerk reaction and just defend that person blindly? Or would we say, like in this case, it's a clear violation of the law. It's not a debate, not left-right. It's a clear violation of the law. Would we say, hey, this is wrong and you should do better? Or we would still just blindly defend our leader, our Democratic president?
I feel that would say it's wrong.
I hope so.
When I saw Clinton, when it was the sexual harassment, I think sexual harassment's wrong.
Right.
And, that's all I saw in what he did was sexual harassment. When he he lied or whatever, that was a problem. But it was sexual harassment for some of the cases. And I believe that was wrong. And
I have to hope that, let's hope we never have a Democratic president who violates the law. But if they do, we have to put the Constitution above that person and say that there's a reason we have a vice president, or at least investigate it, at least be supporting the investigation, as opposed to the right literally just spewing whataboutisms and there's other things out there and I'm so upset that this is coming to the light. No, we should learn about what the president of the United States, they work for us. They're our president. They're not the Republican president. They're not above the law. So, all right, Louise, thank you, my friend, for the call.
Like watching a bad movie. Okay.
I know
you.
it is. It's like a big crime movie. All right, here is Tyrone with some concerns. New York. How are you, Tyrone?
Absolutely. How you doing, Dean?
Good. What are you concerned about? We got like 2 minutes before I get
my concerns is the Democratic Party complicit or incompetent in dealing with this flagrant disregard for our laws and our Constitution. From Nixon to Reagan to Bush Sr., Bush Jr., to this president right now. The Republican presidents have been flagrantly disregarding the laws and the Constitution of this country for decades. And we still act as if we don't see or hear anything that they do. Nixon should have went to the freaking firing squad for what he did with this Vietnam and this whole keeping that war going on. Reagan with this Iranian business, and we continue to say
he should have been impeached for the Iran Contra.
And we continue to say.
And Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon. That's the only reason he was not charged criminally. Richard Nixon. The only reason he wasn't charged criminally is because of Gerald Ford.
The problem is we see this blatant, flagrant disregard, and that's why I say either they're incompetent or they're complicit in the stuff that these Republican presidents, because each one of them, every time they get elected, is something out of sort with the way that they get elected into office. We had this election in North Carolina where this guy was blatantly cheating. And what do? We have a re-election, and then we end up losing that. It's something that's wrong with the Democratic Party, whereas we just continue to go along to get along, and we end up getting kicked in the behind every time.
But Tyrone, there are certain things we can have an impact, certain things we can't. Right now, the Democrats in the House today, Adam Schiff did a great job. This was a very effective hearing. It was on national television, every network. It was the first step of impeachment. It really was. Today was really the first formal step of impeachment of Donald Trump, and I think Bill Barr ultimately. I have to go to break. I have the same frustration with Democrats at times. I feel actually good about what we've seen this week, but we're going to continue to push them, Tyrone. I can assure you, we're not going to sit back. I got to go to break, Tyrone. I'll be right back, my friends. Be right back after this.
Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM Progress 127.